All right, let's see how we're going to do today on this. Trying to see if I can orientate this the best, how I can do that. I think I'm going to do it this way. Just give people a couple of minutes to get on. I do have some news to bring up as soon as uh, we give more people a chance to get in here. But yeah, we are going to be having some news to break today. Of course, we are going to be talking a lot about the Haskell, since the Haskell is the one race that seems like is actually happening this weekend. I know if you live on the East Coast, you'll know about the extreme heat that we are scheduled to be having this weekend. So, yeah, that's a thing that is an issue, and it's canceled a lot of racing around the East Coast. Saratoga called it. Basically, everywhere that's not Monmouth Park called racing this weekend, and I think that was the right decision to cancel all races at Laurel. I believe Parks also canceled. Actually, now that I think of it, I don't think Delaware Park canceled. Let me check about that. Delaware Park. But yeah, so if you have not seen any of the new content that has come out over this week, we are doing the Haskell Profile series. I will have the last two videos out. Uh, the one that I made yesterday, for some reason, did not make it up onto the YouTube. So I'll see about that as soon as we're done with the live stream. I'm doing this right now. I don't know. I'll see how life works out tomorrow, and we'll see about maybe getting a live watch for the Haskell, but I can't guarantee that. I can only say that I can try to have that happen, but we'll see what actually happens once tomorrow comes. If the race is even tomorrow, which I'm hoping that, if they do have the race tomorrow, they know what they're doing. But yeah, so once again, if you have any questions about anything to do with the Haskell, feel free to drop them in the comments. Just gonna, as I do this always, you can follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter at Rundown Racing. If you are not following us on Twitter, please do, because you'll get live updates on everything that's going on with the podcast and the news that I will eventually be breaking in maybe about 10 minutes. I'll give people a little bit more time to show up. But if you have not seen some of the stuff that I just released, I finally got around to getting the Vic Stauffer interview out on YouTube. So that is there. I will put a link to that in the comment or in the chat right here. Comments, chat, same thing. You know what I mean. I will put a link to that there. So if you are interested at all in seeing that or taking a look at that, I highly suggest you so. Vic Stauffer is one of my favorite people in horse racing, one of my favorite track announcers. If you have not seen already, we will be having Tom Durkin on, legendary New York Racing Association track announcer. He is going to be coming on sometime next week. Don't know what day yet. I'm trying to get it for Wednesday, but uh, really, the way that I do this is I just, whenever it's convenient for whoever's coming on, that's when I do the show, or that's when I have them on. So also we do have, I haven't been, good evening. I haven't been hitting this or talking about this too much because it has not really been officially confirmed yet. I know that I'm having him, but I don't know at what point I'm having him. But Corey Lannery, leading jockey at Churchill Downs, will also be coming on Racing Rundown at some point. And then also, what I can promise you is that I'm going to Saratoga on the 3rd of August. So I'm going to be working on getting a pass to go into the paddock. And what that means is we're going to be talking to a lot more people that I was even able to talk to at Belmont Park because I had no access to the paddock and I just kind of had to sit around. The reason I got Steve Asmussen is because I saw him interviewing with Fox. So I sat by the Fox tent and I waited for Steve Asmussen to be done. I know, stalker, right? But I waited for him to be done, and he was kind enough to give me a couple of minutes. So very appreciative of Steve doing that. And what we're just going to do is we're just going to try to see who we can get. I think we're going to be able to get some people, not making any promises on anyone. I'm not going to mention names that I'd like to get because I don't want to put that uh, image in people's minds and then not have that work out, because these guys are doing their jobs and so they're not always available, and especially like if they're saddling horses And with their connections, and that's not always going to be possible. We're going to do our best to get as much as we can up at Saratoga when we go on August 3rd for the Whitney and the test. So 2 big races on that day, and of course we're going to get some live stuff from Saratoga. Not necessarily sure if I'm going to be able to live stream from Saratoga, but we're definitely going to be getting some stuff there. Uh, like I said, we are going to talk about the Haskell. I'm thinking what I might just do is, did you hear about what happened at Del Mar with the 2 horse? Yes, I have heard about that, and we'll get to that in a minute. If you guys have not seen already, I have been on a little bit of a tirade with horse racing wrongs, and I made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to say that name anymore, but I might as well, since I haven't really talked about the issues that we've had with horse racing wrongs on a live show, because I haven't been able to live stream for the past 3 weeks. Finally able to live stream. So that's why I'm giving you guys this live stream on Friday, to kind of make up for the amount of times that we have not been able to live stream. But so we will definitely be getting to that later. If you have any questions about the Haskell, I know I've made all my videos, but as I was saying before, I wanted to answer your question. I might just do the final Haskell profile in the middle of this live stream, just so that I don't have to, make time to make another video, because really the last 2 horses are Bethlehem Road and Spun to Run. I'm not really that high on either of them, and it's really simple to break them down, because they're both long shots that I think have not zero chance, but long shots that are not very good plays if you're going to put them in if they're in the Haskell. I just don't think that they're that good of horses. So very simple. We'll get to that later, but if you have not seen already, I worked on a video about horse racing wrongs with a friend of the show, Carly Sugar. You can go follow her on Twitter and that. What has happened to Omaha Beach? Omaha Beach was scratched after the Kentucky Derby, as you probably know. And Richard Mandela is the type of trainer that does not force him back, or does not force, not just him, does not force any horse back before they're ready to come back. And, Richard Mandela, since this was a issue that uh, required him to be scratched from the Kentucky Derby, Richard Mandela is not going to push his horse to come back super early. So he's now just gotten back to training. So the one thing that I'm going to say, uh, I think Omaha Beach is going to run some point later in this year, maybe the Travers Stakes, but I think maybe he might save his first start until the Pennsylvania Derby, which is in later in September. So that's probably when we're going to see Omaha Beach back. That's the information that I have for you. That's what Richard Mandela's training style is. And the people that I've talked to in horse racing, and I do have contacts. I'm not going to brag like I'm a super connected, but I have some connections. I do have a couple of sources, and you guys do know I am friends with Jay Pridman, so Jay Pridman does tell me some things. I don't bother Jay a lot. Like, I don't text him every day and say, "What do you think about this?" Just because Jay has a life, and I really only ask him about when he's going to come on the show. Which, by the way, Jay Pridman interview will be out sometime in the next couple of weeks. Of course, we do have a lot. Excuse me, a lot of stuff coming up. But so Jay Pridman, that interview is coming at some point. Jay Pridman will be on with us again. We're not going to be interviewing him. What Jay Pridman is going to do is he's going to maybe do like maybe a 15, 20-minute segment with me on one of the episodes of the podcast. Once we get near to the Breeders' Cup, he's going to come on, and we're going to talk about some of the more compelling races in the Breeders' Cup. We're not going to talk about every single one of them. Do I have any big picks for tomorrow's race? Not particularly. I'm going to go with Maximum Security and Mucho Gusto. I know that's kind of cliche to just pick the 2 of the 3 favorites. I know King for a Day is getting a lot of attention, but I think that this is just a race that plays really well for Maximum Security. He's running against. I know he's running against a horse that beat him, but he's not running against the best of. He's not running against the best quality field, and I mean, there is the concern of, is the pace going to set up for him, and or is the pace going to allow him to carry himself on the lead, and there is that concern, and I will say that I don't think that Maximum Security is invincible. Like I said about Code of Honor and the Dwyer, even though Code of Honor was fantastic in the Dwyer, I don't think that Code of Honor is, or excuse me, I don't think that Maximum Security in this race is invincible. So I think that you would definitely, I don't want to say that this race is 100%, 100% Maximum Security. It's definitely a winnable race, but it's not like he has absolutely no chance to get beat. There are some horses in this race that have a little bit of talent, like King for a Day obviously was able to beat him. I like, for a long shot play, I like Jovia. Jovia Jovia has won both of his lifetime starts at Monmouth Park. And so if you want to go the long shot route, go with Jovia. But I think my two horses that I'm going to play are Mucho Gusto and Everfast. Or it's not Everfast, Mucho Gusto and Maximum Security. I will also say that I would play Jovia if I was going to go for a long shot. So those are the three horses that I would say that if you want to play them, then play them. Maximum Security, Mucho Gusto, and Jovia. I have no interest in Everfast. I have no interest in Spun to Run. And, Bethlehem Road has won races, but he hasn't really won races against quality horses. So those are the other three horses. I don't think Everfast belongs in this race. I don't think Everfast is always going to be one of that type of horse that you always see. If you remember a couple years ago, I would compare him to Win the Space. Win the Space was always a big long shot in these stakes races. And you'd always say, do we really need to win the space in this race? Like he was in the Breeders' Cup Classic a couple of years. Gary Stevens, my friend, actually rode him a few times. And, that's what I would say about Win the Space. Or that's what I would say about Everfast. He's a win the space type of horse that's always going to be in the stakes races, is always going to be at least 30 to 1. And I think he's going to be 30 to 1 at least tomorrow. And, he's never going to win the stakes race, but you're always going to play him. And, who knows? Maybe he is going to pick up a piece of the exacta, or not the exacta, probably the trifecta or the superfecta, because there are a bunch of horses in this race with speed. So that's what I would say about him. I guess I've delayed this long enough. I'll tell you guys right now, even though a bunch of people just left. Uh, so the announcement that I have is just something that I secured about 10 minutes ago is Churchill Downs track announcer Travis Stone is going to be coming on the podcast. So let me put that out in live or in the chat. Travis Stone will be coming on the podcast. So we're cycling through track announcers. We got Tom Durkin. We got Vic Stauffer. We've had Vic Stauffer already. We're going to have Tom Durkin, and now we're going to have Travis Stone. So let me just put that in there. Travis Stone. Very good interview with Vic Stauffer. In your opinion, what was Vic Stauffer's best race call? I would probably say I used to say the Lady Secret Stakes that Zenyatta won, but I would say their last race call at Hollywood Park. And I know I've heard a lot of people thought that race call was a little bit over dramatic, but he did justice to Hollywood Park perfectly. He talked about all the great horses that had run there. And, it was just a great race to have at that great final race to have at that venue. It was an exciting finish. Corey Nakatani, someone that I'll say this right now, I'm thinking that it very likely will get him on the podcast at some point soon. Definitely hoping to have him on. But Corey Nakatani, not Corey Landry, mixing up the Corys here, but Corey Nakatani hopefully will be coming on the show at some point soon. But Corey Nakatani won the final race at Hollywood Park, and it was just everything about that race was great. Everything about that last day at Hollywood Park, aside from it being the last day ever at Hollywood Park, if you ask me of the tracks in Southern California, I would prefer Hollywood Park still be around as opposed to some of the others, not mentioning any names. Santa Anita. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think, and like Vic said, I think he was trying to be a little bit politically correct here, but I think Vic and especially Tyler Bays, his jockey agent, were not particularly pleased with the situation at Santa Anita. But that's my favorite Vic Stauffer race call. What's yours? I'll pose that question to you guys. What's your favorite Vic Stauffer race call? And I don't think there's really any other questions we can ask about any of the other interview people. I agree with you, but it was too sad to see Vic. Oh yeah, that's right. Vic Stauffer was a track announcer at Gulfstream Park. I forgot about that. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, Vic Stauffer's a great race caller. Well, I've said before, my Mount Rushmore of track announcers is Tom Durkin, Trevor Denman, uh, Chick Anderson, and Dave Johnson. And for someone who's not as traditional as me, might say Larry Colmus. But I would say those four, with Larry and Vic being like the next two up. So let me just quickly put this in. Travis Stone will be on Racing Rundown. So yeah, we're gonna have Travis Stone on the show at some point. Also, we got Corey Lannery. Stuff that I can confirm to you. Also, as we all know, Gary Stevens will eventually, sometime in September, is when we can probably prepare to have that interview. Again, like I did not, the mindset that I had about bringing Gary Stevens on, or about postponing Gary Stevens' interview until later in the year, was because I did not want to bring Gary Stevens on and just say, just have it essentially be Silver Charm, Beholder, Winning Colors by Gary. Because that's essentially what it was probably going to be. I was only going to get about 20 minutes with Gary, and we could not do justice with Gary. And I didn't want to just have Gary on the show just to have Gary. I wanted to have Gary and get some actual good stuff in for you guys. And, we're very happy that, obviously, we're very happy that Gary did agree to come on the show. And I got to check if Travis has sent me anything else back. Oh, that's just a random tweet from Jay Pribben. I don't think Travis has responded to me yet about this. Oh, but so, yeah, Travis Stone's going to be coming on. I'm not sure. I don't think he's here, but in the event that he does watch this live stream back, someone commented on my Vic Stauffer interview and asked me about, or put in some points about, or put in some points of the Vic Stauffer interview that I left out or that we could have talked about. And I just want to say that, if we ever do have Vic Stauffer on again, we will definitely make sure to include some of that. But I did not want to, like, one of the questions he asked me was, or one of the things he said I should have asked was, I should have asked about Frank Miramati leaving. Quitting his post at Oaklawn Park so he could essentially audition for the job at Santa Anita with Michael Rona, a job that originally he would not get, but then Michael Rona would get it, and then he would get it. It was just ridiculous how that whole thing was. I still would say it's stupid that I'd still say it's stupid that Michael Rona got fired at Santa Anita. I have no idea what was. I mean, I think you could say that the common denominator of when Santa Anita started going down this year was when they fired Michael Rona. But I didn't want to get into asking him about other people in the racing industry because I wasn't sure how comfortable he is about asking that, and I didn't really think it was appropriate for that. So maybe wouldn't ask him about that. Probably, if I had more time, I would have asked him about maximum security, because that is something that he also said that uh, I should have talked to him about. He also said that I should have asked him about Vic Stauffer's. Uh, Tim Ritvo fired Michael Rona. Are you like dotting as in like you're just asking a question, or are you asking like trying to say more in that? But yeah, I mean, I could ask him about some other stuff if he ever does come on the show again. I'm not gonna say that we're never gonna have double guests on, but okay, you're gonna say more. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure. But so yeah, if you have any questions about the Haskell, I know was Travis Stone one of the original people that started horse racing? I actually don't know that. I know that Travis Stone got the call after or got the job at Churchill Downs being the track announcer after Larry Colmus decided to take the job with the New York Racing Association. But let me look about that. Travis Stone Horse Racing Nation. Yes, he was one of the original founders of Horse Racing Nation, actually. So he was an announcer at Louisiana Downs prior to becoming Churchill Downs announcer. And yeah, so Travis is a great announcer, I will have to say. Obviously, when we have him on, we're going to be talking about the debacle that happened at the Kentucky Derby and get the perspective of the guy who ended up telling the whole world that the horse that won the Kentucky Derby didn't won that. So I'm looking forward to hearing what. I mean, if you have not seen the video of the behind the scenes of what it was like, or what Travis calling the race, and then immediately after when they were processing what happened with the objection and the disqualification, go watch that. I think it's probably just if you just type in Travis Stone 2019 Kentucky Derby on YouTube, you'll probably see that. But uh, that's probably what I would say. If you type in that on YouTube, you'll get that. Definitely watch that. It was very interesting to see that Travis handled it very well, and I mean, he was obviously as shocked as everyone else was because I believe he said at the end of the video, "Wow, that's something I never thought I would ever hear myself say," or something like that. And you know, I'm not sure if I said this on the Kentucky Derby live show or not, but the whole time during the disqualification, I was saying, originally it was, there's no way he's going to get disqualified. Like, this is just Flavien Prat trying to take a shot at when TSG hired Tim Retvo back in November, I believe, to fix Santa Anita. The first thing he did was fire Michael Rona. 20 years ago, I think could be longer, when they were testing out announcers. Michael Rona's a great announcer, and I thought it was really bad. I really did not like what Snanita did to him. He was a great announcer. I like him a lot better than Frank Miramati. That being said, I don't dislike Frank Miramati. And look out for Frank Miramati on Racing Rundown in the future. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, I like Michael Rona a lot. And, I will say we did try to get Michael Rona on. And, Michael's schedule did not work with Racing Rundown at this point. So at some point in the future, Michael may be on Racing Rundown. Do you think Max can get rate to get his hit? I think maximum security in this rate, obviously maximum security is going to be the overwhelming favorite. And I think he should be, because maximum security undefeated in 5 starts, of course undefeated with an asterisk because he was taken down in the Kentucky Derby. We've beaten that to death. But I think he'll get his race tomorrow, because I'm not sure how much they're going to push him. Tim wanted Frank M, but the higher ups wanted Michael. So now that okay, that makes sense. Now that you tell me that, that makes sense. No, you're good. You showed up just in time. I'm not sure. You can probably see that up in the chat earlier, but we're gonna have Churchill Downs track announcer Travis Stone on sometime within the next 2 weeks. So that's gonna be fun. We have Tom Durkin on next week. Hopefully next week. I have not heard back from Tom yet, but I know Tom Durkin is going to come on the show. And let me check my email and see if I've heard back from anyone. Nope, I haven't heard back from anyone yet. So, everyone else has live, so I don't push people. But yeah, so let's see. Oh, that's you. Okay, so if you're not aware, Raven the Wolf is also Carly Sugar, who did the video with me. So shout out to that. I did not see your Haskell analysis video, but one of my viewers told me about it, and they said you like King for a Day a lot. Okay, thanks for telling me that. I did not know that. But yeah, so if you have not seen that video, and I guess if you guys want to get into talking about the 3 words that make me want to smash my head into a wall more than anything else, uh, then we can sure get into horse racing wrongs right now. I'm not sure if who is the horse of the year at this point. I said that back in when I made the horse of the year video. I'll get to your question in a minute of what year that was, but I said back when I made the mid-year Eclipse Award video that I would 100% right now give horse of the year to Bricks and Mortar. I think Bricks and Mortar is horse of the year, and you know I think all he has to do is just keep it up. I don't think that I pretty much resigned this year to we're not going to have a standout in the older male division. We're not going to have a standout in the 3-year-old division. I feel we won't. I feel like I would agree with you on that statement that we're not going to know until the Breeders' Cup. Right now, if you ask me today, who would you vote for Horse of the Year? I would vote for Bricks and Mortar because he's had the best season by far. My Tolly has run great, but My Tolly and Midnight Bisou are right up behind him. But I think Bricks and Mortar has just been so good this year that I would hesitate to, not that I would hesitate, but I would just want to give it to Bricks and Mortar over anyone else. Well, here's the thing about the Travers, and I've said this before, but when you have these years of weaker competition in the 3-year-old division, you tend to have the Travers tends to decide who the 3-year-old championship is. It decided it in 2017 and 2016 and 2013, years where there were not multiple Triple Crown winners. So if Midnight Bisou wins against Elders, she has a shot. Midnight Bisou has won against Elders. She's won against Delay and Escape Claw, so but here's the one thing that I'm going to say, and this might sound a little bit sexist, but female horses tend to get the shaft when it comes to voting for Horse of the Year, as we've seen with Personal Ends. And if she run against Elder Man, I don't know. I would say that even if she does run against older males, female horses tend to get the shaft. Well, the reason that Havre de Grace won Horse of the Year is because she won Horse of the Year in a year where there was not a outstanding 3-year-old. There was not a horse that there was not a super good grass horse. And Game On Dude lost the Breeders' Cup Classic and the Hollywood Gold Cup. He won the Santa Anita Handicap and the Goodwood Stakes that year, which is now the Awesome again. But he lost the Hollywood Gold Cup and he lost the Breeders' Cup Classic. So I would say that the reason that Havre de Grace won Horse of the Year is because there was not a standout in any of the other divisions. And usually it's if there's a standout in the three, I don't even want to know. If there is a standout in either division of male horses on dirt, then they get it. And then it defaults to the best dirt horse or best dirt female. And then if there's not a really good dirt female, then it goes to a very good grass horse. But I would say that I would give it to Bricks and Mortar right now. But definitely Midnight Bisou is underrated. And I think a lot of people are going to get focused on as soon as Monomoy Girl comes back, which from what I've been told, Monomoy Girl, I know Monomoy Girl just arrived back at Brad Cox's barn this week. But Monomoy Girl is going to be going into the Breeders' Cup with probably 1 or 2 races under her belt in the year 2019. While Midnight Bisou has been winning all these races. She won the 2 races down in Oaklawn. She won the Ogden Phipps. She's going to win the Personal Ensign. I'm going to just go out on a limb and say she's going to win the Personal Ensign. We might never see a top female race against older males when that top female is trained by a top trainer, except Richard Mandela. Yeah. Now, Richard Mandela is one of the few guys who is ready to take shots against against male horses. Although I did hear some people speculating that Elate might get a shot against the male horses because it makes sense with distance, uh, her distance challenges. And I'm not saying that she's distance challenged, but the past couple of times, at least you could say in the Azeri Stakes, she ran out of ground. I don't know what happened to late in the Apple Blossom Handicap, but Midnight Bisou's, I think it's just a case of Midnight Bisou's the better horse. And, if I would say for Bill Mott and Claiborne Farm and the rest of them, why not take your shot with Elate? Because I think Midnight Bisou already won a race at Sam Houston. I believe, you personally believe it will. You personally believe it won't happen? I've heard it. I'm just putting in the idea of how that would work out. I think that Midnight Bisou, or excuse me, I think that Elate is still a good horse. I think that this is just a case of Midnight Bisou has separated herself from, at the very least, Elate. We'll see her run against Monomoy Girl, but there's also a shot that Midnight Bisou could pull an Azeri and win 8 or 9 races. I think that Midnight Bisou is but again, in that year 2002, there was not an outstanding older male horse, and War Emblem, the champion 3-year-old, was ultra inconsistent. He won the Kentucky Derby, he won the Belmont Stakes, he won the Haskell, but he got beat in the Pacific Classic, he got beat badly in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and you really just would not give that kind of a horse War Emblem that won a lot of big races. He also lost the Pacific Classic too, so he lost the Pacific Classic, he lost the Belmont Stakes, he lost the Breeders' Cup Classic. So I don't think that you would have given War Emblem Horse of the Year in 2002. Midnight Beast, yes, Midnight Beast, who has grown tremendously. You always bring up unexceptional 3-year-olds and old males, but that's what's happening this year. Well, Bricks and Mortar is on the turf, and the way that it usually goes is it usually goes with dirt males, then dirt females, then turf horses. That's the way that it usually goes with Eclipse Award voters. And we're going to bring, in January, we're going to bring Jay Pridman on, who is an Eclipse Award voter. So we can ask him about the way that Eclipse Award voters go about voting. But I think that the way that it is with Elate is I think that she's got a better shot running against the male horses as opposed to going against the females. Because I think Midnight Bisu is better than I think Midnight Bisu might be better than all of the older dirt males. And I'm not saying that Elate is better than all the older dirt males, but I think that I know you saw War Emblem, you showed me the pictures, but I would say that Elate's best shot might be to run against male horses. I mean, that's just my opinion, but go back to the topic of Horse of the Year, I would give it to Bricks and Mortar right now. Forgot the name of the horse for a second. I'd give it to Bricks and Mortar right now, 100%, followed by Midnight Bisu and then Maitoli. The other thing about Maitoli is Maitoli's probably going to have a great season, probably win a Breeders' Cup Sprint, and he's going to get he's not going to get talked about at all because sprint horses also get the shaft when it comes to voting for Horse of the Year, because usually there's so many better horses than them there's usually a better horse than them in all the other divisions. And like I said, the way that I break it down is, dirt males, dirt females, turf males, and I don't even know. Usually there's a horse from any of those categories that wins it. He was the only horse who was double fenced. When has a sprinter won Horse of the Year? A sprinter won. You could consider Forgo a sprinter but Forgo also won races at a distance. So if you really got to go back, and the last horse that would be considered a full-time sprinter that won Horse of the Year was Ak in 1971. But if you want to consider Forgo a sprint horse, then Forgo won Horse of the Year 3 times. If not, then Ak would be the only sprinter to win Horse of the Year. And really, Ak also won races at a distance. So, really, a sprinter has not, a sole sprinter has never won Horse of the Year. And just like 2-year-olds have only won Horse of the Year 3 times. The last time a grass horse won Horse of the Year was Wise Dan. Even major sprinter had versatility. Every major sprinter had versatility. Yeah. A lot of the good sprinters. I mean, you saw with Maitoli. Maitoli was able to go 8 furlongs in the what's that word? In the Met Mile. Although we will say that McKinsey got screwed in the Met Mile and didn't have anywhere to go. So, I mean, as much as you want to say that that was a great race, and I'm not saying that it wasn't a great race by Maitoli in the Met Mile, but I would also say that McKinsey was the better horse. If Maitoli was to decide to go longer and try to race in the Classic, would he win horse? I think if Maitoli were to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, for sure he wins Horse of the Year. McKinsey should have won that race easily. He had absolutely nowhere to go. And it's unfortunate like that when the best horse doesn't win the race. But McKinsey had nowhere to go. He was absolutely trapped. Hang on, I just got to send a message back to someone. But yeah, who do you guys think is going to win Horse of the Year? I mean, right now I would say I would put Bricks and Mortar, Midnight Bisu, and Maitoli. Those two, and two horses trained by Steve Asmussen. So Steve Asmussen is having a very successful year. Mike Smith could very easily close the gap on his chase for 30 Breeders' Cups. Not that he's counting in his head, but I think if McKenzie were to run in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, which is my preferred spot for him, would be my preferred spot for McKenzie, then Mike Smith has an easy Breeders' Cup win, and I think he's going to win on Midnight Bisou. But I would say that McKenzie is 100% a better spot in the dirt mile as opposed to running in the classic. But if McKenzie does run in the class, if McKenzie stays consistent and wins the Breeders' Cup Classic, I know that's what Baffert said that he wants from him. But Jay and myself have both said that McKenzie is better at about a mile and not at a mile and a quarter. But obviously, that's where Baffert's going to take him because Baffert wants the classic. I would love, like I've said this since McKenzie since McKenzie ran in the San Antonio Handicap. He can run. He's inconsistent at distances greater than a mile. Not even a mile and an eighth. That distance greater than a mile. He can win the Pennsylvania Derby at a mile and an eighth, lose the Big Cap by a nose, but he can also run 13th in the Breeders' Cup Classic, which really concerns me if he runs in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I forgot the name of the Derby favorite. That Omaha Beach. Omaha Beach was a Derby favorite that was scratched. We talked about Omaha Beach earlier. Someone asked me what was going on with him. But yeah, so I would say right now McKenzie. I don't even want to say that McKenzie's the leader in the older horse pack. At this point, I would even consider giving it to my Tolly. Do you know when Math Wizard will run again? I can check that for you. Or I can check if Math Wizard is scheduled to run. That was another thing. Math Wizard got screwed too. That's what I said. I feel like at the very earliest, Omaha Beach, and from what I've heard, the very earliest that Omaha Beach is coming back is the Travers. And I'm not saying that he is coming back for the Travers. Do not take that the wrong way. I would say that my guess would be the spot he's going to come back in is if is either they're going to go with him in the Pennsylvania Derby or in the Osmegen Stakes. Either way, I think it's a good spot for him. I think they would probably try to point Omaha Beach for the Classic, but we all know Richard Mandella. He's never one to push a horse. Math Wizard right now, just to get back to your question, is probably slated for the Travers. The Travers is going to be a very loaded race this year, I got to tell you. You're going to have a War of Will. You're going to have Tacitus. You're going to have Game Winner. Of course, a lot of people have been killing Jose Ortiz since the Belmont Stakes for the ride that he put on War of Will. I've never really been a fan of killing him for that, but I understand why people think that it would have been better to just go with him or to just, what am I trying to say? I get why a lot of people are saying that Jose Ortiz ran him poorly by keeping him wide on a day where the track was not favoring being wide. But looks like it's going to be a bunch of horses running in this. Mr. Money is possible, and then you've got all kinds of New York horses like Code of Honor, Not That Brady, Global Campaign. You don't think so about what? Because right now, I would say, if we're talking about Omaha Beach, I would say the best spot for him to. Yeah, I don't think that I wouldn't think that Richard Mandella would try to run him in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I just, it defies the type of trainer that Richard Mandella is to force a horse that has not run since April to come back having not raced since April and having to win a race to get into the Breeders' Cup Classic. So I think, B. Wayne Hughes, who owns Spendthrift Farm, who bought the breeding rights to Omaha Beach, is very good about keeping horses around. We saw them keep Beholder around for a long time. I will have a envision in my head of how the race will go. What race? The Breeders' Cup Classic or the Travers? No, Richard is not one to run. isn't the Jim Dandy coming in tougher than the Haskell? That's what I think. I think the bigger, better competition is in the Jim Dandy. I think the War of Will's running in the Jim Dandy, and we'll see what kind of horse War of Will is. Whether the what am I trying to say? Whether the whether the Belmont Stakes was just the fact that he had run so many races in such a close proximity, or whether it was really he fought had the Preakness was really just a one race wonder for War of Will. But I think that you're going to have horses like Global Campaign, Jovia, and Maximum Security will race fast, and King for a Day will be stalking behind them. Everfast. I can tell you that one thing: Everfast is going to be last. But I mean, this is the field that is shaping up for the Jim Dandy. You got War of Will, graded stakes winner; Tacitus, graded stakes winner; Owendale, graded stakes winner; Global Campaign, graded stakes winner; Code of Honor, graded stakes winner; Tax, graded stakes winner; and Laughing Fox, a listed stakes winner. Chili in Charge and Highest Honor. Highest Honors is trained by Chad Brown and has won one of his two starts. Both of them were maiden races, and then Chili in Charge is probably going to be a long shot. I know Owendale has won a graded stakes race. The Ohio Derby was a graded stakes race. Yeah, those are both grade 3s. Which is, if I didn't specify that, I'm sorry, but either King for a Day takes over after Maximum Security and Jovia and then runs away. Yeah, I have a feeling that I don't want to say that any horse is going to. So you think it's going to be a battle between Mucho Gusto and King for a Day? I don't think Everfast is going to be zooming by everyone late. Another race that I guess we should talk about that's coming up next week is the Curlin Stakes. The Curlin Stakes is a race that's much like the Easy Goer. If you remember, the Easy Goer is one of the ungraded stakes races that's on Belmont Stakes Day. The horse that I would be looking at going into the Curlin Stakes is looking at Bikinis, the undefeated 3-year-old trained by Chad Brown. Ran one race as a 2-year-old, came back, won an allowance race. And I think he has a very good shot to put himself in the conversation following the Curlin Stakes. He's not going into Jim Dandy, which I think is the right decision for Chad Brown because he has not run against stakes competition. And I don't think you want to run a horse in his first race against the likes of Tacitus, War of Will, Code of Honor, Global Campaign. And I guess we'll throw Owendale in there because why not? So now that we've talked about horses long enough, I'm not sure if Carly's still here, but I guess we could talk about our lovely, wonderful, favorite people at Horse Racing Wrongs. I guess I can answer that question. What type of odds will Mucho Gusto get on Saturday? I think Mucho Gusto is probably going to be around like 4 or 5 to 1. Okay, you're still here. Yeah. So let me just quickly answer. When is the Jim Dandy? When the Jim Dandy being run? Since it's being run this. When is it being run? Actually, I don't know. It's being run on the 27th from as what I'm seeing right now. What is the post time for which race? The Haskell or the Jim Dandy? The Jim Dandy, no one. I don't think we're going to know what the post time is for the Jim Dandy until the next week. But the Haskell, I think, is about 5 o'clock. But I just want to quickly put this out there. If you have not seen the video that Carly and I did about horse racing wrongs, it's on YouTube. Go do that. Haskell probably around 5:15 Eastern. Go check that out. It's on YouTube. It's actually a very interesting video. It's about 45 minutes, so it's a big watch, but it's well worth it because I mean, I'm not sure how many of you guys probably are all aware of this, but 5:30 Eastern because they plan to delay. Okay, good. They're delaying the Haskell due to heat. That's a good idea. And they're running the Haskell tomorrow because it's the Haskell, and they're taking a big risk. And if something happens tomorrow, the swarm of vultures that is known as our wonderful, lovely friends at Horse Racing Wrongs are going to swoop down and take big shots at this at horse racing, which, I'm sick and tired of listening to these people. Whenever I hear anyone from that start to talk, I literally like that wall back there. I want to take my head and slam it into the wall because it's so obnoxious. If you were on Twitter yesterday, if you're not, go follow us on Rundown Racing. But if you were on Twitter yesterday, you saw that some idiot responded to something that I said, and they shouldn't run it. It's really hot out here, and I mean, I know you're from California, so you are used to hot, but it's really hot out here. It's like it's 8 o'clock and it's still 90 degrees outside, or it's actually 8:45 and it's still 9 o'clock, or it's still uh 80 degrees outside here, so it's not fun in where I am in Connecticut, and definitely New Jersey is down farther south, so it's definitely warmer than warmer than it is here. But I don't think the race should be run, but they're going to do it because it's the Haskell. It's not even close to, I really don't. Yeah, you want to take our heat, please? You want to take our heat because it's not fun here. Very, very not fun. But yeah, so they're gonna run the Haskell because it's the Haskell, and hopefully nothing happens. But like I'm saying, if you have not seen that video, go take a look at it. The takeaway from horse racing wrongs was their numbers are. I get that. The takeaway from horse racing wrongs is um I think we could see about that, but the reason that I had her on is because she's very knowledgeable in the inner workings of the track. She's very knowledgeable in the inner workings of the track, and she also helped me come up with the statistics for it. So people are giving these pita nuts too much airtime. They don't even want us eating turkey on thing. Were you the person who was saying that on Twitter? Because there was someone who kept saying that, and it was really funny. There was that idiot who tweeted at me, and when someone said, like, if you say something to me on, okay, you can shut up, TVG. I'm gonna read to you what this person said. I'm surprised they haven't deleted the tweet because no, on Twitter. Uh, because I tweeted back on Saturday, if you're looking for comedy and this is the exact tweet, if you're looking for comedy in horse racing, go to any track and watch the horse racing wrongs protesters. It's actually very funny. They don't even believe in riding horses or keeping animals as pets. Argue. Horse racing wrongs is just stupid. But so this chick, Linda Sullivan, comments back at me. Is it funny that 2,000 horses are killed every year? 38 are killed each week in America for $2 bets. Enjoy your blood sport now. It's going to all end. And I'm not sure if I don't think Chris is here, but I'm trying to find what Chris's comment was. But let me see. Friend of the show. No, where? Right here. There we go. Uh, he basically told her that this is what he said. He said, "It's not going anywhere. You're delusional." Basically, what all these people are. But that's the tweet that caused this person to be like, 28 or 2,000 horses are killed every year, 38 a week, which, by the way, I'm not sure if you all are math people. I'm not a math person, but I can figure this out relatively easily. Now, I know you, Carly, checked me on this, that uh, 32,000 divided by 52 is 38 point something. So she's not wrong on her math, but she's wrong in the actual number because 38 horses do not die on racetracks every week. I don't even think Patrick has ever claimed that. And we all know how much of a moron Patrick is. And but yeah, so I sent him I had been talking to him. Originally I was going to bring him on, but you guys didn't want him coming on the show, and I'm a very viewer friendly show. I take into account what the viewers want. I do what they want. Not that, or I do what you guys want because I want to provide you with the best content. So If you guys want something, I'll do it for you. I'll work on getting it done for you. I know that there's some things that I cannot necessarily do at this point, but if you want something, I'll do my best to try to make it. So if you want more live streams, I'll do my best to make more live streams. If you want more, like that, that's what I was saying. I'm very, if you want to ask me anything, shoot me a DM, leave a comment. I wouldn't give them any. Yeah, and that's what Angie Stevens said. Angie Stevens has actually set us up with a lot of these interviews, but she said, you like the live streams? I like doing them too because it we can. I'm probably going to do a live watch of the Haskell tomorrow, so we got that to look forward to. But because my cable's so stupid. NBC Sports Network is not working on my TV up here, but NBC is, and the Haskell's on NBC, so I'm pretty sure I can get a live watch of that. Wasn't able to do Royal Ascot because my cable pissed out, but yeah, she basically said like, don't give any of these low lives an idea, or don't give any of these low lives a chance to spew their nonsense. And I was like, well, I mean, I left the door open for, like I said, Patrick, we're not going to have you on for for a few months, which was a lie. I did not really intend on having him, but I told him that because I wanted to leave the door open in the future. And I decided that when I would go to Saratoga, I would go over to the protesters and see if I could talk to him because I wanted to introduce myself to him because whenever I talk to people and I get a chance to see them in person, I always like to introduce myself and put a face to the person that they're seeing either behind a camera or, you know, sending them a letter or an email or a Twitter DM or what have you. So I always like to do that. So if I ever see any of these people, I always like to introduce myself to them and say I'm the person who does that. Thank you. I appreciate that. But so I thought, well, what the hell? Let's go over and talk to Mr. Patrick. Let's go over, talk to Mr. Patrick and see how much of a loser he is. And he would probably win the contest for biggest loser in America. But yeah, so the whole time he kept trying to get me to change my perspective on horse racing. And I'm like, buddy, I did that 3 years ago. I did that back when I got into this business in 2015. And when I was getting into this during the Triple Crown and like right after the Breeders' Cup was when Breeders' Cup in 2015 was when I really got into horse racing. I had seen all the stuff about horse racing and how it's not all the stuff with the injuries and everything. And I saw that and I'm like, well, I made my decision on it. And the sport, are there issues? Of course. There's going to be issues in everything. This sport is never going to be 100% accident proof. But can we do more? Of course. And I've been saying that, and I'm going to keep beating that dead horse. No pun intended there. I'm going to keep beating that dead horse until until the cows come home, if we want to use all these animal analogies. But to get rid of the sport, first of all, is never going to happen because of all the money it brings in. And all these people, like even Patrick, like his supporters are delusional. He's not that delusional. And that's one of the things that I'll say about him is he's not an idiot. He knows that, you know, he said, we're planting a seed right now. There can be of course there can be safe racing. But actually, when I confronted him on that, he said, I have no idea what they do in other countries. I just know what they do in this country, which is completely stupid. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that this guy's an idiot, but his supporters are delusional, but he's not really that delusional. But that delusional as in he thinks he can get rid of the whole sport. I truly think that he really believes or doesn't believe that he can get rid of it, but he's going to take his best shot. And he's been taking his best shot. Now, that being said, I don't think it's a good look at all that today a horse collapsed at Delaware Park because it was 94 degrees and an extreme heat advisory. So, not good, but that being said, there, like Carly just said, there can be safe racing. And we see that in Europe. I know it's Royal Ascot, so they're going to be on their best behavior. Excuse me, but how many incidents did you see at Royal Ascot? No, Lasix doesn't help either. Although Lasix, the common misconception about Lasix is Oh, I missed that question. Let me just make this point about Lasix, and then I'll answer your question. I didn't see that initially, but I will answer that question. Lasix does not cause breakdowns. Lasix, the other like pain masking drugs can obviously cause breakdowns because if any of you are athletes, you know that if you are hurting and you're playing a sport, you're not going to be as good because you're trying to get around the pain. Do you think that Santa Anita will resurface the track? And do you think all of the rain in Cali this winter had anything to do? I think the rain had something to do with it because they kept sealing and sealing and sealing and sealing the track. I think that had something to do with it, but I never fully bought into it's only the track because you can only blame the track so many times. And they kept checking and they checked the track after excuse me, after April at Santa Anita. And there was that period of no deaths at Santa Anita, which I mean, I've heard other things about it that it wasn't really the fact that they did anything to the track. I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, I thought that the thing of it was the track. Like when people kept saying it's the track, and the Jerry Hollendorfer apologists. I don't think that Jerry Hollendorfer is squeaky clean. Do I think that Jerry Hollendorfer's career should be destroyed? No. But Jerry Hollendorfer should definitely be held accountable. He should be fined. And you know what? You shouldn't you should just make rules that prevent these guys from having this. Like everyone knows that that trainers use drugs on horses. So then just ban the drugs. It's easy. You don't have to cause I mean, you're obviously going to cause waste with the trainers, but I think the Jerry Hollendorfer thing is more political than it is anything else. I'll be perfectly honest with you. But I want to get back to her question right here, who I think is going to win the Haskell. I like Maximum Security and Mucho Gusto. As a long shot, I like Jovia. Battle of Midway was unsound. That doesn't surprise me that Battle of Midway was not sound because, I mean, I would agree with you. I think they used Jerry Hollendorfer as a scapegoat. They drench those horses with electrolytes every day if needed. They also give them lactated ringers, IV fluid. These trainers are not going to race their horses if they're not safe. I don't necessarily agree with that 100%. I don't necessarily agree with that. I really like. I will say to you this, and we said that in the horse racing wrongs video. There are trainers who take care of their horses very, very good, and there are trainers that have been training for decades, multiple decades, that have no fatal injury to their name. Jerry was. Here's what I think caused Jerry Hollendorfer to go down. If you have not seen the CNN news piece, which by the way, my good friend Patrick was featured as part of, but if you've not seen the CNN piece on horse racing, they talk a lot about Jerry Hollendorfer in there, and they were talking about how Jerry Hollendorfer had lost 3 horses at Santa Anita, 2 up at Golden Gate Fields. And they just said Jerry Hollendorfer has a very bad resume and a history of drug violations and all that stuff. And the very next day, a horse trained by Jerry Hollendorfer broke down and had to be destroyed. So I think the fact that CNN had just done a video or had just done a piece about Jerry Hollendorfer that a lot of people saw, the horse racing industry said, well, I mean, we gotta. This is not source, but this is what I think. I think they said we got to show people that we have accountability. So they went to the extreme with Jerry Hollendorfer because it's really the impression that horse racing has in the media is really bad. And so they went to the extreme with Jerry Hollendorfer because they wanted to show people that they're actually doing something about the trainers and not just sweeping it under the rug like they have been in the past. No, when I say Patrick, I mean the president of horse racing wrongs, Patrick Bottiello. I just refer to him by first name because I don't want to say his whole name, and also I don't want to. I don't. Not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Not that I really care if I'm mispronouncing it, but I just say Patrick because it's easier. How many drug violations does Bob Baffert have? I actually don't know that, but Let me see if I can find that for you. But what the first thing I'm going to do is put a link to that CNN piece about the drugs. It's an almost 9-minute video, and they talk to a lot of people. They talk to trainer Jim Cassidy, who kind of a little bit throws Jerry Hollendorfer under the bus, and they also talk to the Golden Boy Bob Baffert himself. Yeah, as she said, drug violations really don't mean anything. Doug O'Neill's got a ton of drug violations. He's still training horses, so really, really. Let me see. Okay, let me find the comments for this. Oh, I know what I have to do. I have to go to desktop on my iPad. Yeah, Baffert. From what I can tell you is Baffert does use a lot of drugs on his horses. Which I mean, you can make the issue. You can make it not an issue by just getting rid of drugs. I can just say that you can just get rid of the issue by not allowing these people to use drugs. That's a very simple fix. I do just want to quickly say whether we do have a quick second to take a break is it isn't even bad. No, Baffert isn't really that bad with drugs because I think Baffert knows his image and doesn't want to do anything that's going to ruin him. Means a lot when you own horses and they take the purse away. Yeah, it does. And I do just quickly want to say before we get back into this tangent is sometime next week we will be having Churchill Downs track announcer Travis Stone on the podcast. So we're raking in all kinds of track announcers. We got Travis Stone, we got Tom Durkin, and yeah, so and we also had Vic Stauffer. So obviously, so yeah, I mean, if you have any more questions about it, basically what we found about him is his number, like the fact that he says 2,000 horses die every year is ridiculous because he has no proof for half of that. But the ones that he actually provides evidence for are correct. Now, there, like we said, there were about 1,000, usually average about 1,000 horses a year die because of a breakdown, heart attack, or racing or training injury. Now, the way that Patrick, and I'm talking about the president of horse racing wrongs here, not to confuse anyone, but the way that Patrick looks at it is he considers that all deaths in horse racing are of the horse racing industry. So if a horse has colic, which you should not consider colic in anything. And as Carly attested in that video, she works at a barn and there was a horse that had colic. And colic is not caused by horse racing. Neither is any of like pneumonia is not caused by horse racing. You could just have a horse that's perfectly fine, gets pneumonia and dies. So the fact that you consider illnesses and stuff like that of horse racing, I can disagree with you on that. If you want to inflate your numbers, then that's fine. But the thing that I'm going to say about this, and I put this out on Twitter, and I also talked about this in the video that, he used a larger sample size to compare the amounts of deaths from Saratoga between 2009 and 2018. He said between 2009 and 2012, 51 horses died, and from 2013 to 2018, 87 horses died, which obviously the number is going to be bigger for the second sample size because it's a larger amount of years. And I really hope that this guy is not that stupid, although I fear he is. But I think the way that he's doing it is in any facet, you can manipulate numbers to tell the story you want to tell. He manipulated the numbers to tell the story he wants to tell. And while we didn't have sinister intentions in mind with this, we manipulated the numbers to send the message that we wanted to send. So, although I hesitate to call what we did manipulating the numbers, if you want to look at it from that perspective, he and what we did were both manipulation of numbers, but we were completely 100% honest with it. He not so much. But basically, what the thing that I would say is, we can get upset about the fact that he's not using exact numbers and making this stuff up. But really, let's put it this way: if you're going to get upset, if someone's going to get upset about horse racing, they're going to get upset about it regardless of whether or not, or I should say, horse deaths. If they're going to get upset about horse deaths, I don't think there's a person out there who's going to say, Oh, geez. 1,000 deaths. Like, I'm okay with 1,000 deaths, but nope, 2,000 can't do horse racing. Got to get rid of it. I don't think that there's a person like that. I think that it's the way that it is. It's either you're for horse racing or you're against horse racing, and that is going to be whether you say 2,000, 1,000, 87, or 51. Now, granted, I think you could say 87 horses died between 2013 and 2015 and get the same response you could get. You could also say 1,000 horses die every year as opposed to 2,000 and get the same response either way. Are you going to leave a link to the vet reports? I'm just, well, she's putting the vet reports up. I was just thinking about this, and I did get Travis Stone, so I was thinking back to the Kentucky Derby and what we're going to talk about with that. Doesn't it feel like the Kentucky Derby was such a long time ago? Because that's what it feels like for me. It feels like such a long time ago that even the scratching of Omaha Beach, and then of course, the issue with the Kentucky Derby. Have you ever heard of? Yes, I have heard of Jay Neff. I actually tried to get him on Racing Rundown. I'll be honest with that. And Jay is a very informative person. I'm not a fan of him because he ignored my request to come on Racing Rundown, but definitely Jay is very, and I was going to, when I was going to talk to Patrick, I was going to bring up Jay, and I forgot to bring that up in the video that we made. But yes, Jay is definitely, if you want to go check that out, go check out his channel, JCNF. I know I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of him, but I'll give him a shout out. Go check him out. He's a local trainer in California. I'm not sure, Carly, if you've ever heard of him, but he talked about what his training methods are. And I actually love to comment on his video saying, like, asking him if I could use his. Yeah, I think she does, because I see she commented on that, but I want to see if he actually responded to the comment that I left on the video. I don't think he did. Oh, you know him? I didn't know that. You should have told me that. But I think definitely he set the perspective of, yeah, Roadster ran in the affirmed handicap, or the affirmed state, whatever the hell that race is. Whether it's the affirmed stakes or the affirmed handicap, he ran second to Mucho Gusto. Wasn't really that impressive. Yeah, no, that's what I've seen from him. He cares a lot about the wellness of the horses, and that's what I'll say about him. I'm not the biggest fan of him personally, but he does take care of the horses. The one thing that I do also want to say is I put this out on Twitter, but if you have not heard, horse racing lost one of its best people. Mary Lou Whitney died today at 93. So condolences go out to the family of her. I'm going to be making a special about Mary Lou Whitney probably tomorrow. I don't know JC personally. Oh, you know who he is. I thought were saying you knew him personally. But yeah, very, very sad to hear about Mary Lou Whitney. We're going to be making something about her tomorrow. We're also going to be making something about Sea Hero. If you did not hear, Sea Hero, 1993 Kentucky Derby winner, was the oldest living Kentucky Derby winner. That honor is now taken over by Gopher Gin. I already gave you my Haskell winners. If anyone else wants to respond to her and let her know, or give her your Haskell winners, like I said, mine are Maximum Security, Mucho Gusto, and Jovia. Those are what the horses that I would play. Oh, that's unfortunate that the link isn't showing up. But yeah, so the Haskells this weekend, like I said, the Coaching Club American Oaks is also being run this week. It's being run on Sunday. So if anyone's got any questions about the Coaching Club American Oaks, feel free to drop those in there. But I am going to say that I think or Gurana or whatever the hell her name is I'm going to put her in the lead for the 3-year-old fillies right now. Not Champagne Anyone. Champagne Anyone is running in the race though, but I think that Garana, trained by Chad Brown. What else is new? Chad Brown trains a lot of good horses. I think that Garana is already the leader, I should say. with Serengeti Empress going back in distance and they're not really being. I think that the winner of the Coaching Club American Oaks is going to be the horse that, or is going to be the 3-year-old filly that takes the lead in the division, whether it's the Acorn winner, Garena, or the uh, Black Eyed Susan winner, Point of Honor. You bet 100 on nine horse, and he was dead last out. Who who is it? Okay, so the horses that are in the Coaching Club American Oaks are Garena, Champagne Anyone, Boxwood, Off Topic, and Point of Honor. Garena obviously won the Acorn Stakes. Point of Honor won the Black Eyed Susan. Champagne Anyone was fourth in the Kentucky Derby. Boxwood is an undefeated. Is she Yeah, she's undefeated. She's won an allowance, and she won the Ginger Brew Stakes, a listed race at Gulfstream Park. So have a good. Thank you. Good luck on your bets too. I'm not going to give PETA any more time. Like I said, as of now, no more. No more. We're not dealing with horse racing wrongs. The only time we're going to be talking about them from now on in the future is Carly's going to come back on when Patrick releases his kill totals for January, and we're going to see how the numbers break down. But that's when we can look forward to talking to our favorite people, or talking about our favorite people. We're not going to be talking to them. I mean, I might go up and be like, "How you doing, Patrick?" when I go up to Saratoga, but I'm going to have people that I'm going to have to talk to at Saratoga, so not really going to worry about it. All right, well, have fun at Del Mar tomorrow, and good luck if anyone plays the Haskell. I'll stay on for a few more minutes and talk about the Coaching Club American Oaks. Champagne Anyone won the Gulfstream Park Oaks. She was third in the Devona Dale and the Forward Gal, all races at Gulfstream Park, and last out was fourth in the Kentucky Oaks. So this is her first race since the Kentucky Oaks. Uh, you've got three horses that are Garan is undefeated, Boxwood is undefeated, Point of Honor not quite undefeated. She was fourth in the Gulfstream Park Oaks, but she has won 3 races, including, like I said, the Gulfstream Park Oaks. What, the horse that you bet and he was dead last? That's unfortunate. I'm sorry for you. But I think the 3 horses in this race are, to answer your question, William, about the Coaching Club American Oaks, the 3 horses are Garena, Boxwood, and Point of Honor. If Max is on his toes tomorrow, he'll run for fun. I was at his last race and he was not up to date. He will. That's good to hear that he's up tomorrow. I've heard whispers that he's been sore, but that's a bunch of whispers. If you want me to get to, I believe I got to them enough already, but just to satisfy the need for a Haskell profile on them, the horse that is running, what the frick is his name? Where is? I don't even know. Haskell Invitational. There we go. Spun to Run is not really that good of a horse. I want no part. I really just want no part of the other two. Of The one thing that I will say about Bethlehem Road is he should be higher on the odds board than my third pick for the Haskell. Probably I would guess that you're referring to Jovia. That's my long shot play. Jovia is my long shot play. My 2 other plays are Maximum Security and Mucho Gusto. But Spun to Run has won races at Aqueduct, or excuse me, has won races at Parks, one at Aqueduct, not one at Aqueduct, third at 2 races at Aqueduct. But I'm not really into him. I think he's just your typical long shot that's not going to do much. Bethlehem Road, as for him, he's won races. He was 4th in the Ohio Derby. Last time out, won the Parks Derby, or it's not last time out, but was also won the Parks Derby. So he's won some races. I think he should have higher excuse me. He should have higher odds over Everfast. But Bethlehem Road and Spun to Run, horses that I have no interest in taking at all. As for the riders, I'm not really super crazy about Joe Talamo riding Mucho Gusto. I don't think Joe Talamo put a great ride on him last time out, but it is what it is. I guess that's really it for. I don't think there's really any other pressing stakes tomorrow or on Sunday. So if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in there. Never mind, actually. Travis Stone. All right. Travis Stone is going to come on sometime next week. I just got a message back from him. He will be coming on sometime next week. So I can confirm that to all of you guys. Very excited for that. Could be. I don't want to say yes because I don't want to predict what horses are going to run in races that are 2 and 3 months, or that are 3 months out. The hell? No, 2 months out, actually. I can't count to 3, so uh, very high likelihood that it does. I think that the winner of the 3-year-old division is going to emerge from the Travers. So whether it's the Travers, I don't think the Travers is going to decide it. I think the eventual 3-year-old champion will come out of the Travers, but maybe actually, now that I think about it, probably the Pennsylvania Derby could decide the 3-year-old championship. But what I would say is, if a horse wins multiple graded stakes races, so for example, Maximum Security's won the Florida Derby, I have a feeling that most Eclipse Award voters will look at his Kentucky Derby and see that. I think if he wins the Haskell, he has a good chance to win a horse or 3-year-old champion. If War of Will wins the Travers, I think War of Will wins 3. Yeah, go ahead and suggest questions for Travis Stone. Go ahead and suggest questions for anyone else. Best place to reach me now is send me an email at racingrundownpodcast@gmail.com. I'll leave a link to that. Racing Rundown. Come on. Podcast. You can also send me a DM, but racingrundownpodcast@gmail.com would be the best place to reach me for that. Racingrundownpodcast@gmail.com. I'm not sure if that's going to be a link for you, but it's not showing up as a link, but definitely send me that. You can also send me a DM if you want to, but yeah, so you can suggest stuff for Travis Stone, but I'll go through the scenario. I might as well just go through the scenarios of how the 3-year-old championship could work out. Maximum Security, I think, wins it if he wins the Haskell. And this is assuming that none of these horses win the Breeders' Cup Classic. Maximum Security wins it if he takes the Haskell. War of Will wins it if he takes the Travers. Tacitus wins it if he takes the Travers. And I would say the 3 horses that I would put in the leaderboard right now are Tacitus, War of Will, and Maximum Security. Those would be the 3 horses that I think could win the 3-year-old championship right now. Maybe Game Winner if Game Winner wins a bunch of races, but I don't know. I think right now the 3 leaders are Tacitus, War of Will, and Maximum Security. So yeah, if you've got any questions to drop in the last couple of minutes, like I said, follow us on Twitter at Rundown Racing, Instagram Racing Rundown Podcast. DMs are always open if you want to send a question. Have handicapping needs, want me to talk to someone in horse racing for you, because I will do that for you guys. If you have a question for someone, I can see if I can talk to my contacts and people that I know. Obviously, like, I do want to say, I'm not sure who this was, but I will address this. Someone asked me if I could try to get Rosie Napravnik on the show, and I'll talk about that. I would love to have Rosie on the show, but the problem about that is I have no connection to Rosie Napravnik, and she's not a jockey, so it would definitely be something that I want to have in the future. But I'm not going to guarantee anything until I'm not going to guarantee anything. That's like I said, I said I'm not going to guarantee anything, even though I have mentioned that I have reached out to some people to try to come on the podcast, and we're working on getting more people, but I can't guarantee everything. So, but yeah, I would love to have Rosie on. Feel free, but also, if anyone else left has any questions about tomorrow, the Coaching Club American Oaks, or just anything about how podcast is going to work out, I'm just adding his number to my contacts. Travis Stone 89. Not actually going to say his number out loud because all right, so good luck tomorrow, everyone. Yeah, so if anyone has any last minute pressing questions, again, good luck to all you tomorrow. I am not going to guarantee that I'm going to nail this race, but I didn't get the winner of the Kentucky Derby, but I nailed the Kentucky Derby as opposed to Country House. Thank you. I appreciate it. Like I said, I nailed it as opposed to Country House. Like I said, there's always a long shot that fills out the exacta in these big, or the superfecta or the trifecta in these big races. So I have a feeling that Everfast is going to be a part of the superfecta. I will say that to you. If you want to, like, probably I would put Everfast in a show position. If you really, really want to go with Everfast, put him in a show position. But that being said, yeah, I don't see any other questions coming in. I just see a bunch of people wishing everyone good luck once again. Good luck if with all your plays tomorrow. Uh, Hopefully all the races tomorrow go through without issue. Also, completely forgot to mention this. We talked about Midnight Bisou a lot earlier. She's running in the Molly Pitcher this weekend. So we're looking for that. Also, Catalina Cruiser is running in the San Diego Handicap. I talked about that in the podcast. If you have not seen that, you should go watch that on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. Those are all the sites that we're on. Basically, wherever you get your podcasts at. We're going to be on Amazon Alexa pretty soon. I just have to set that up. But if you have not seen that, go check that out. But I talked about Catalina Cruiser, just a little bit of a quick note about him. I will be taking him in the San Diego Handicap just quickly because the field was not ready when I made. I just was able to figure out that he was running. But the field was not set for the San Diego Handicap. Catalina Cruiser is running against a bunch of, I think, horses. I'm not going to say horses that are bad, but against horses that I would not necessarily put in the same class as him. So I'll take Catalina Cruiser in the mile and a 16 San Diego Handicap, a race he won last year. So that's my final opinion. If anyone has any final questions, feel free to drop them in. I'll give you guys a couple of seconds. But yeah, so we're excited to have Travis Stone on. Excited to have Tom Durkin. Excited to have Corey Leonard. We're excited to have all the people who. What type? Uh, I assume you're asking about what sites we're on, so I'll type that. iTunes, not iTunes, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart Radio. And also, one thing that I will say is I will get better at uploading the episodes onto YouTube. I wonder if Maximum Security gets disqualified again. I don't think Maximum Security is going to get disqualified. I mean, I don't know. I can't even say that. Wouldn't that be wild, though? You lost $100 on that disqualification, so I joke about it. Yeah, I know, I know. One of my friends in school hit the trifecta prior to the disqualification and would have won $11,000. And disqualification happens, zip zero. Oh, you're just in time. Who do I like in the Haskell? Just about to call it up, but I can definitely tell you who I'm taking in the Haskell. I am taking War of Will. Yeah, 11,000. That sucked. I felt bad for her, but I mean, I made $66, so I made $66 off the disqualification. But who do I like in the Haskell? I like Maximum Security and Mucho Gusto as realistic plays. Long shot play, go with Jovia. Jovia's run twice at Monmouth Park, has not lost there. Definitely, I'm encouraged by the race he ran in the Belmont Stakes. I'll say that about him. I'm very encouraged by the race he ran in the Belmont Stakes. But yeah, so I mean, I know my uncle, who is the big person besides me that's into horse racing, had Maximum Security. Who do you like at Del Mar? I like Catalina Cruiser in tomorrow's races. I'm not actually watching the races right now, so I don't know what horses are running. I'm doing live show right now. So I don't know anything. See, you know what my thing is with Maximum Security. If he goes under 111, that is still the way that I feel about Maximum Security. If he goes under 111, he's done. That was the way it was in the Kentucky Derby, the Florida Derby, and the Pegasus Stakes. Thank you for remembering that. I really appreciate you for remembering that. Makes me really happy. Because see that, as much as I got killed for my video about Maximum Security, I pretty much nailed what and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I pretty much nailed what maximum security was going to do. I said if he goes the first 3 quarters in under a minute 11, he's going to lose, and if he goes the first 3 quarters in over 111, he's going to win wire to wire. And I think that's going to hold true in the Haskell. So I guess with that being said, yeah, did anyone else lose a lot of money on the Kentucky Derby? I didn't lose any money. I made money. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. He's going to be competitive and get caught late in the stretch. Did anyone else lose serious money on the Kentucky Derby? That was great for you. I'd love to. Of course, the big trip that we're taking is, of course, we're going to be at Saratoga, but unfortunately, I guess I can say this now. When we go to, excuse me, when we go to Saratoga for August 3rd, that will unfortunately be the last time we will be at a thoroughbred racing track. I'm not going to promise this, but I will be going up to Maine to visit family that I have up there later in the year, probably sometime in August or September. Not promising this, but there is a harness racetrack right down the street from my relative's home, so I might go to that harness racetrack and go watch some trotters race, even though I'm not a trotters podcast. Never been to a harness racetrack before. I also live right near Plain Ridge Park Casino. If anyone lives in the Connecticut, Massachusetts, what Eastern New York area, I also live near Plain Ridge Park Casino, which has a standard bred track. So, uh, would love to go there, but unfortunately, when I go for the Woodward, not the Woodward, the Whitney Stakes, that will be the last time we will be at a track in the year 2019. Uh, 2020, I can promise a lot more things. I'm also 17, so even though I have a driver's license, I can't get into tracks without adults. And what I was hoping to do was be able to go to Aqueduct in the winter, or actually in the fall, for the Remsen Stakes Day. Don't think that that's going to be able to materialize. If it does, great, but we're going to save a lot of our great content for next year. Of course, next year, I'm telling you this right now, we will be at the 2020 Breeders' Cup in Keeneland. Here's the one thing. I guess we could talk a little bit about the Kentucky Derby, since I'll tell you my story about it. So, as soon as I hear an objection, my first thought was, we've always heard that in these big $1 million races and, the Kentucky Derbies, when the jockeys think they have a chance to come down, you always claim foul. If you think there's even a 0.001% chance you have to come down, you still claim foul. Because the worst thing they're going to do is disallow the foul claim. At least you took your shot. So that was what my initial impression of it was. And if the looking at the objection in terms of just Country House and maximum security, that's what that was. It was Flavien Prat taking his shot. But once I saw the replay and saw how bad the incident was involving War of Will, then I said, he has a serious shot to come down. And I was saying to my uncle, who was freaking out because he didn't want to lose his money, I said, if this is a Breeders' Cup, he comes down. If this is any other race, even a Breeders' Cup, he comes down. But they might not do it for the Kentucky Derby. But as it kept taking longer and longer and longer and kept showing it, and it looked worse and worse, I said, he has to come down. And they made the right decision. I thought at first he was just doing that because that's what I thought too. You and I had the exact same thought. That's what my first thought when I heard an objection. I was like, and I truly believe that that's why Flavien objected, because it was the Derby, and if you have a chance to win the Derby, if you have a chance to get a disqualification in any of these big races, you take your shot. But once I saw, and I really wish, I'm going to say this, I wish that Tyler Gaffleon would have claimed foul, because it would have made it a lot easier to disqualify maximum security. That being said, I still feel that John Court claiming foul was enough to disqualify him. And I think that John Court claiming foul is what gave what gave Flavien Prat the Kentucky Derby. So, yeah, I get that's my 2-month-old take on the Kentucky Derby. But we're going to be at the Breeders' Cup 2020 in Keeneland. So I can tell you that right now, a year and a half out, that is going to be happening. Why do you say Bill Mott doesn't deserve to win the Kentucky Derby? People were booing the owner so badly. Yeah, no, there was a lot of booing. I've never heard more booing at a racetrack before. But stuff that I can tell you is happening. We're once again going to go to the Belmont Stakes in 2020. We'll be at the Breeders' Cup 2020. We'll be up at Saratoga again a lot next year, and then he need. I hope Bill Mott wins the Derby outright again, because I feel bad for him for the horseman that he is. Because people are always going to say to him, you didn't win the Derby the right way, and I just feel I hope that Bill Mott gets a Kentucky Derby that isn't marred by a disqualification. But so yeah, we're going to the Breeders' Cup 2020, so we will be there for both days. Also, Belmont Stakes 2020, I can tell you that I'm going to be there, and probably, like I said, we're going to be up at Saratoga, and yeah, just anything else that he did win the Derby with an asterisk. So seeing about anything I can see about other potential racetracks that we could go to, but I'm not going to guarantee anything. I can tell you that that's what we're going to do next year, though. Sometime we're going to be up at Saratoga. We're going to be at Belmont Park for the breeder or for the Belmont Stakes, and we're going to be at Keeneland 2020 for the Breeders' Cup. So, and by that point, I'm not trying to sound like an egomaniac, but I'm sure the podcast is going to be a lot bigger than it was, even at this point. So, once again, I do just want to thank all of you again for all the support, whether comments, likes, subscriptions, whatever, whether you just listen to me because you want to hear how much of an idiot I sound like, or you actually, and also, yeah, Mr. Money's really good. I'll answer that comment. But if you actually really think that I have a lot of insight in horse racing, it's very humbling to hear that from people, and I really appreciate it. And I look forward to continue to bring you guys all the best from horse racing. Like I said, we got Travis Stone coming on sometime next week, Tom Durkin, Corey Lannery, all those people coming up, Gary Stevens in September. We got Jay Pridman, who's going to come back on sometime during the Breeders' Cup. The time between the final win in your in race and the actual November 1st Breeders' Cup. So we've got all that to look forward to. Racing Rundown is just going to continue to get bigger. And yeah, so we're going to be at Saratoga in 3 weeks. If anyone is going to be there for the Whitney, feel free to shoot me an email at racingrundownpodcast@gmail.com, and we could meet up and talk racing there. Do you think they should take Luis Saez off of maximum security? I don't think that they should take Luis Saez off of maximum security yet. I know people who are not a fan of Luis Saez at all and believe that Luis Saez should never have ridden maximum security, but I don't think they're going to right now. And, I mean, if he blows hard in this race, then maybe consider taking him off, but I wouldn't. So I guess that being said, I'll open it up to the last 2 minutes to any final thoughts, questions, whatever that anyone has. But like I said, if you're going to be at Saratoga on August 3rd, shoot me an email. We can meet up and talk racing there. I will definitely be talking about that more as we go forward and get closer to that date. Who's the best jockey? That's a hard question. Depends on if you're talking all time or if you're talking right now. I'll answer both. All time is I would probably say Irad's the best jockey right now, but I was not a fan of the ride that Irad put on newspaper record in the Belmont Oaks. But I would say that probably Irad's the best jockey right now. Best jockey of all time, Bill Shoemaker. In this country, Bill Shoemaker, best jockey anywhere of all time is uh what the fuck is his name? Lester Piggott, thank you. Any other long shots you'd put on an exhaust? I would say, just for shits and giggles, uh if you want to play Everfast, play him to run third. My reasonable long shot pick is Jovia. I don't like to take long shots that I think are super out of the clouds. And that's what I think Everfast is. But I would put Everfast in a trifecta. But I think my long shot play would be Jovia. I would put Everfast at the bottom of a trifecta or a superfecta. If you wanted to do probably let's say a trifecta of, this is what I could say could be a good trifecta. Mucho Gusto, King for a Day. You could swap those two, either have Mucho Gusto or King for a Day winning. If you want to box this would be a good box. Mucho Gusto, King for a Day. That'd be a good exacta box if you wanted to. Get a trifecta. Um, Either way, what the hell? I completely lost my train of thought. So you could go either way, Mucho Gusto or King for a Day winning, and then whatever horse you don't have winning second, and then Everfast third. That's what I would say would be a good trifecta for you. You could also throw Maximum Security at the top of it too. I'm saying King for a Day because I know a lot of people like King for a Day. I should probably be saying Maximum Security or Mucho Gusto, but I know a lot of people like King for a Day. What's your play? I'll ask you that. What's your play? If anyone else has any last minute things to drop in right now, go ahead and drop those in. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes. And then I got to tweet about what's his name? I got to tweet about Travis Stone now. I was not was wondering when I was going to reach out to Travis, and I did not expect to do it today. But we got him. You're gonna go 157, so that would be your play. I gotta look up the numbers. I know that that is King for a Day, Mucho Gusto, and Maximum Security. That's a decent trifecta, actually. I would not get bad. That would be the trifecta that I would play. I would play Maximum Security, Mucho Gusto. I would probably, I'm not 18, so I can't gamble. But if I was going up there, I would take $2. I would throw down trifectas. Go Maximum Security, Mucho Gusto, Everfast, Mucho Gusto, Maximum Security, Everfast. That would be what I would play. I'm too young too, but I'm doing my best to try to help out you guys who are in the gambling business. If like I said, or 50s, whatever the hell the trifectas cost now. I'd probably put $1 down on it. Take $2, go one, Maximum Security, Mucho Gusto, Everfast, Mucho Gusto, Maximum Security, Everfast. That's what I would do. But I know for those of you who like King for a Day, you have 6 years to go. So I'm 17, so I'll be able to gamble next year. Not that I'm counting that down or anything. 57576. No, I think you should correct it to 57756. That's what I'll put in the correct thing for you. I'm not saying you're incorrect, but typo. 5, 7, and then 6. So that's the way that I would play it. I would go either Maximum Security, Mucho Gusto, Everfast, or Mucho Gusto, Maximum Security, Everfast. Uh, that being said, is there anyone else that has any last question? Once again, just to plug all the stuff that we've done here on Racing Right Now recently, you can go check out all our interviews. Chantel Sutherland, Julie Crone, Vic Stauffer. Those are on YouTube. Go check out the video that I did with Carly, who is now no longer here, had to leave a half hour ago. Go check that video out. Horse Racing Wrongs. The title is A Closer Look at Horse Racing Wrongs. If you ever are at any racetrack and you see my wonderful friends, please be sure to say hi to me. I have 76 followers on Twitter, so we need to get more. I have over 1,400 YouTube subscribers, so we need to get more people on the Twitter. Once again, if you are not following us on Twitter, go follow us on Twitter. I'm not good about follow. I'll go give you a follow back. Give me a minute to do that though. But yeah, so uh everything else, yeah, so we're gonna have all this fun stuff on Racing Rundown. If you have not if you're at a racetrack and you see my good friends at Horse Racing Runs, be sure to say hi for me, not just for yourself, but be sure to say hi for me. Tell them that I sent you, and they probably will say we hate that kid, because that kid is trying to destroy, which I'm not trying to destroy, I'm just trying to discredit them. But yeah, so if you have not checked out our interviews, Vic Stauffer, Julie Crone, Chantel Sutherland. My Julie Crone interview was very good. Not that any of them are not good, but my favorite of the three was Julie Crone by far. I love Julie Crone. We're working on getting her again after her junior jockey camp is over. She's going to talk a little bit about that. So we're working on that. We're also working on a bunch of other people. Like I said, we're going to have Tom Durkin, Travis Stone, and Corey Lannery all coming up in the future. And then Gary Stevens a little bit farther down the road. That being said, You just sent me a DM on Twitter who's horse of the year right now. We talked about that earlier. You weren't there. Right now, I would say, um, God, what the hell? Bricks and Mortar. Bricks and Mortar is horse of the year right now. So, that being said, Bricks and Mortar is horse of the year. If there's any other final thoughts, drop them in the comments right there. Send me a DM. But I think that that's about it. So I'll give you guys another minute or so. If you have any final thoughts, any more questions, what have you, we can work that out. But yeah, so if you're on the East Coast, stay cool tomorrow. It's going to be a balmy 100 plus something. So that's going to be super fun. I'm going to be air conditioned down the whole day. We're going to be doing a live watch of the Haskell tomorrow. I'm sorry about that. I got. I don't see anyone sending in any final thoughts. So, good luck with all your bets tomorrow. Like I said, the trifecta that I would play is 7, 5, 6, or 5, 7, 6. So yeah, that's my play. Good luck to all of you. You're welcome. And if you make any money, 10% interest to me. 10% comes to me for the convenience. I'm just kidding about that, but yeah. So best of luck to all of you. We'll see you live tomorrow for the Haskell watch and then immediate post race reactions. Hopefully, nothing as crazy as the Kentucky Derby happens. Hopefully, no jockeys get thrown off, no horses, no incidents happen with horses because we know how much fun that's going to be. And yeah, so I guess that's about it. Good luck to all of you, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Haskell live watch. Later.